Hi there, welcome to AutoRetro, the podcast where we talk to people about the cars of their lives. I'm David.
And I'm Ed, and tonight, David, we are talking to Oliver Bridge. He met me about 17 years ago at BMW Australia. We both formed a love of all things old and car-ish, as well as the inappropriate TV show Little Britain.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. He currently runs a health and wellbeing consultancy called Build a Bridge. A very apt name.
Excellent.
Welcome, Olly.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
Now, we're going to talk a bit about cars and your history with cars. So we want to take you back, and I'm very tempted to do my little sound effect here, but I won't.
No.
There's the one that goes, I like it. But we're going to take you back, and we want to know, obviously you and I have talked a lot about cars over the years, and, we've spent days in your garage tinkering with things and what have you. But we want to know where it all started. What was that germination point? What was your first, and David likes to usually ask this, what was your first car memory?
I grew up, my dad always was tinkering with cars, and he has an old Triumph that I always remember the gearbox being out or something that he had to do with it. And so really every weekend I just remember my dad fixing one of our cars.
Wow. So which Triumph did he have?
So he still has from the dealership.
That's very cool.
Triumph TR3.
Brilliant.
White with the Surrey hardtop, as Ed likes to always say.
The funny thing with that was when I first met Ollie, he said, "Oh yeah, my dad's got this Triumph TR4," and I said, "Oh, does it have the Surrey top?" And he goes, "It does." Yeah. And then we were like, "Yeah, we'll be friends."
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah, and it's part of the family because my sister was born at the hospital and brought home in the car, and then 33 years later. Drove away from the church after being married in that same car.
That's what brilliant. A provenance.
Absolute brilliance. Yeah.
So what colour is the Triumph TR4 Surrey top?
So it's white, and it's always
red inside.
It is red inside, and has that really distinctive smell that when I
rotting
go to
mildew.
Well, I don't know whether it's
60s.
vinyl or
there's
there's a certain smell.
The
mold
PVC
spores
back in the day.
That's generally what it is.
Yeah, but the you talk about smells, but we used to have cats growing up, and the car has been in kind of various states of disarray through the years, and when it was at its lowest, my dad had it under a car cover and hadn't looked at it for a while, and one of the cats unfortunately had got a rabbit and chosen the footwell to be the place that it hides the rabbit, and didn't find it for a couple of years.
That's very unfortunate.
That's a smell you don't want to smell.
No, that would be a hard one to get out.
Yeah.
But that 60s PVC sort of the plastics of the time, they certainly gave off a particular odour. I can stick my nose in any old Holden, and that takes me straight back. The olfactory senses, I think, are so strong, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they connect.
Well, someone told me once, or I read it once somewhere, that out of all our senses, smell is the one most connected with memory.
No, I would absolutely.
It's like the strongest link to memory.
Makes sense.
Yep. Absolutely.
Smell your cars, people.
Absolutely.
Get out there.
Yeah.
So sorry, David. You go.
I was just going to say, so the Triumph was the first memory, and that's still in the family, which is just incredibly fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially, in the UK, obviously, cars often don't last that long because of the conditions of the roads and the salting on the roads and things like that. So that's quite an achievement to actually.
Well done, Dad.
Well done, Dad.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I always remember going into the garages over the years and, boxes piled up on top of it. And, it's gone from, I think it's been redone 3 times just in the time he's owned it. And, different levels of depth in the Renault. But it's one of those things that because it was so fundamental in my love of cars, I still remember it in all of those different states. Like now it's in a really nice state and he's had it redone and quite recently. But actually when it was that little ratty and it meant something a little bit, and I'm not going to say it meant something more, but it certainly was of an era.
Yes, absolutely.
As I was growing up, sort of teenage years.
I can remember having a Your Classic magazine, which was a magazine that ran through the early 90s, a British magazine, and they would start with a restoration project, and one of them was a TR3, and it was basically just the bulkhead of the car. That's what they had left.
They built it around that.
And they built up around it in a single car garage, with some sort of rotisserie sort of thing to weld the new floor and weld everything around it. So
it's very inspiring, those British magazines. And now of course YouTube and everything. You see stuff that gets restored in Europe. I won't just say Britain, but in Europe. Is just like awe-inspiring.
Exactly.
We would take it straight to the tip, and go too rusty. But over there, it's like, so that can be done.
Yeah. And I've recently been watching quite a few of those YouTube clips of people in the UK redoing Land Rovers, and like you say, you look at the chassis and go, just get a new one.
Yeah,
seriously.
The Land Rover Classic Centre will sell you one.
Yeah, galvanised and dipped. But
they
and they're doing it outside under a tarpaulin that they can't work on for 3 months.
It really is.
Snow.
It puts us to shame here in Australia.
Yeah.
So tell me, there was another family car. Was there a Marina or a Cortina or a...
No, so get this, right?
Farina?
Anything ending in Ina.
No, a Scimitar.
Oh, wow. A Reliant Scimitar.
Yeah, Reliant Scimitar. So we had 2 of those, and we used to have a tow bar on the back. So a shooting brake kind of sports car.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
But
GTE.
a tow bar. Yeah, GTEs.
Yes.
Princess
Anne used to have one.
She did. So they became massive because we're all family.
That's right. And she got done for speeding in it too.
You know your stuff. She did.
I was on my way to the horses. And the devil of the thing was the accelerator got stuck.
But they were fiberglass, so they were nice and light.
Yep.
But we used to tow a caravan down to the south of France every year off the back of a Scimitar.
Wow.
And again, really, really fond memories of that, because it was before the age of seatbelts, and my sister and I, who's 4 years older, we used to lie in the. They used to put our mattresses in the back. We used to lie down in the back, fall asleep as we left the driveway in the middle of England. Drive down, go over the ferry.
You don't need an iPad. You don't need all this electronica. Just stare at the ceiling of a Scimitar.
Just sleep. It was perfect. You'd sleep, wake up, and you're in the south of France.
Fresh as.
Internationally, that happens internationally. My wife's one of 5. They had an AP5 Valiant station wagon, and they'd go Melbourne to Sydney every Christmas holidays, and they would be lined up in the back, the 5 of them.
In the wagon bit,
they'd leave down early in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to get a few hours in.
Like little sardines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Our health and safety.
Yeah, I know.
That Scimitar would have been quite old when you had it.
No, I think they were new when.
I picture them as being 70, an oldish, like 70s.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, okay. So, it's not that old,
Because then, as soon as so we had a brown one, I think, first, and then a black one, or it could be the other way around.
Right.
But then from then on, my dad went on to Range Rovers and had every generation of Range Rover since then. Just a love of.
Shame he didn't keep them.
I know. If you had a 2-door now, it would be. Winging
yum.
its way over here to Australia for me to.
Absolutely.
Well, they remanufacture them now. They'll take them back, and the factory will redo them.
Yeah,
and it's
Series 1's
a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Yeah, and lovely cars. But I do have fond memories of those Scimitars, I have to say. The shape of them was quite iconic, and there aren't many shooting brakes that are 2-door.
That's right.
Wagons.
It's sort of reminiscent a bit of the P1800 ES.
Correct.
Volvos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, my sister will tell the story again all around cars. They have a tendency to overheat and.
Really?
British car. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Incredible.
But this one overheated so much that it caught fire. And I was a baby in a car seat, and it was on the drive to school. My mum grabs me as a baby and pulls me out of the car and leaves my sister in the back of the car. And she never lets her forget it. Never lets her forget it.
You left me to burn.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
what a way to go.
Not big flames.
Just licking at her feet.
Yeah.
I think they ran the Ford engine, didn't they?
I think so. I think so. I'm not entirely sure.
Dare I say the Pinto engine, but no, I won't say
I don't know.
They had a habit of spontaneously combusting.
So these early cars obviously, made you go, I'm a bit interested in this. Fast forward a few years, or maybe not that many years, what was the first car you drove?
So the first car I drove was a 2CV.
A de chevaux.
De chevaux.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. And funnily, the worst first car to drive because it doesn't have a normal gear stick.
No,
and it doesn't have a normal thing.
It's
that you're
push
used
me,
to.
pull you umbrella style.
Very
isn't it?
weird.
Whose was that?
So it was my best friend's sister's first car, and we thought it would be funny as a prank to reverse it out of the driveway, drive it around the corner, and say someone had stolen it. So that was the first car I drove.
And I love that it wasn't he your mate; it was you that.
It was both of us. We'll take shared blame. And the funny thing is, I don't remember who actually ended up doing the deed, but I think it was me. But maybe that's just the hero.
Naughty.
They were such iconic cars. There are a few cars. I think a Fiat 500 has the same sort of image. You can put that in any setting, and you're transported to rural France, aren't you?
Totally.
Or,
Carrying those eggs.
Exactly.
Carrying those eggs.
With a top hat on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one.
Exactly.
That's the one.
Do you know, I've never driven one. I don't think I've even been in one.
Well, funny story about that. I've been in one and I wanted to drive it, but they wouldn't let me drive it. The car was in for a service. Now
Why wouldn't they let you drive?
I've got little 2-cylinder air-cooled Hondas. So I always, and the gear stick comes out of the dashboard.
Right. It's very similar.
I've always thought of it as a Japanese 2CV.
Right.
Until I became a passenger in a 2CV. Because
Rolly.
Yeah, they have a habit of listing significantly.
Yeah.
And I think, and literally, it was 2CV stands for 2 horsepower, doesn't it? The original ones.
Yeah.
So they were a 602cc engine by the time they sort of got into mainstream.
Yeah. The early ones were
use.
smaller than that, I think, capacity wise. I don't know.
One
One of my books on the shelf here will tell
one of
you.
them will.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time the 602 was it obviously produced more than 2 horsepower by then.
Yeah.
But one of the Hondas is 360 cc's, but it produced 31 horsepower. So it was just streets ahead horsepower wise, basically a motorbike engine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, 2CV, this is like the royalty, of 2-cylinder air-cooled cars.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
No.
But roll isn't bad though, Dave.
No, it's not. It's not
Range
too bad.
Rovers roll.
It's called character. It has streets
There's something
and streets
very comforting about a bit of roll.
If you're the driver, but if you're the
Maybe
passenger,
if you're the passenger,
not so much.
Not so
Yeah,
much.
so my mum forced my dad to put in a sway bar in the first Range Rover because she was feeling sick.
Oh,
okay. Another memory of cars.
That's great.
Yeah.
My mum used to feel sick, and Dad had a ZL Fairlane, an 86, big square Fairlane sort of thing. And that used to make her feel sick. And once Dad took great delight, we went to see friends in Montmorency. So Mum was already a bit queasy by the time we got up there.
It's a long drive.
It's got a bit of a drive back then. It was probably now, what's that, a good 40 minutes maybe up to Montmorency. Anyway, so Mum was a bit burpy. And they had a roundabout near their house.
She'll love listening to this.
Yeah, she will. She'll like this. And I remember this clear as day, roundabout near the house, and Mum's like, "Oh, we'll be there yet." Oh. And Dad's on, "I'll just go around again." So he does a second loop of the round. She's like, "Stop!" And he thought it was tremendous fun. Yeah.
The 2CV actually also features my favourite Bond movie.
Oh, is that,
yes. The yellow 2CVs.
The yellow 2CV.
And they go down the
It'll
cliff.
come to me. It's For Your Eyes Only.
For Your Eyes Only.
That's
they
right.
go down the cliff face, don't they?
They do, and they're
They
chased
don't
by
take the road.
504s.
No need to take the road when you got that suspension.
Yeah.
Well, when they actually filmed that, again, Your Classic magazine was a boon of useless information from the 80s and 90s. But they were powered by the club engine, so they actually had like 1200 cc's,
Bigger.
the ones used in the movie.
Yep.
They had 5 or 7 of them on a car transporter that they used for the filming of that sequence.
How many came back on the car?
All of them got driven
All
back.
of them got
driven back onto the car transporter. All of them. And then,
and
of course, there was a limited edition, a James Bond edition, and it had stick-on bullet holes across the
Wow.
boot lid. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
God, I wonder what they're worth now.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't you see one in a museum?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
In
Like
in
an actual
Scotland.
one.
Yeah, there's a
Scotland.
museum, and they have a selection of Bond
Well, I think we should make a
cars.
bit of a pact. We need to drive a 2CV properly.
I think that's a great pack to have. If any of our listeners would like to give us a drive,
Yeah,
to
2CV.
that would
Let's
be
have a cracking
brilliant.
one. So that was the first car you stole / drove.
Yeah.
Created
What
incidentally.
came next? What was teenage L plate, P plate Olly? What was he thinking
Yeah, so
about
my
driving?
my first car that I bought was £900 from a breaker's yard, and it was a white 205 Lacoste. Couldn't afford
Peugeot.
couldn't afford the GTI, so I had to go for Lacoste.
Now Lacoste being the little crocodile
It is.
insignia
Designer
car.
Sunroof.
Bit of yellow and blue and red sort of in the sticker
It
kit.
did, and had that going through on the seats as well on the inside.
Nice. They do love a limited edition.
They do.
Oh yeah.
They do, and I couldn't afford the full GTI, but I could afford buying the GTI pepper pot wheels.
Oh,
So I went back to the breakage yard, and because it did have white.
He saw you coming, didn't he?
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll sell this young tunk these wheels.
Yeah.
So that had a sunroof. Was that a electric roof?
just
manual
yank
shunk.
back.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
fabric though.
No, glass,
glass.
tinted glass.
Oh, okay.
But it just didn't lock, so you could just pull it back and
jump
get
in the car.
Yeah, but it had the best immobilizer because no one could start it but me. You had to pump the pump
Yeah.
back 5 times and wiggle the gearbox and do a few things, and
then
then
it would
start.
go. Was it
Yeah.
carby that car?
No,
Injected?
It was
Wow.
injected.
And a 1.6?
Yes.
Yeah, rather than the 1.9 of the GTI.
Yeah. So in the UK, we had the 1.6 GTI and the 1.9
okay.
GTI.
Oh, yeah, we only got
too.
1.9.
We got 9,
Yeah.
1.9.
Yeah.
So actually, I tell a lie. I think mine was a 1.4. The
Okay.
Lacoste was a 1.4, I
Yep.
think. But a great car to start with. But my sister's first car was called Rosie, and it was a red Mini.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so again, memories of my dad every 3 or 4 months having to take out the radiator, go to the breakers yard, get another radiator, pop that
okay.
in.
Why did it clog up so much?
Just rotting. Just
Oh,
the weather
wow.
in the UK is just toxic to cars,
Wow.
especially in those days with, nothing was galvanized, nothing was dipped, everything
Yeah.
was just literally, you could hear it rotting.
So she had an
Wow.
old Mini, like a
Yeah.
60s, 70s
Yeah.
Mini.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could, if you lifted up the car mats, you could see the road going
Oh, yeah,
underneath.
yeah. And yours was basically a French Mini,
Correct.
somewhat.
Yeah.
So you would have liked, even though it's not the GTI, you would have loved the handling of that car. Because they
And
were pretty chuckable.
It was great fun, and I was really proud that I'd kind of done the paper rounds and earned the money, being able to buy it myself.
Yeah.
And I could learn to do a few things with my dad, because he was so much better at working on cars than I ever hoped to be. But I wish that I'd spent more time actually paying attention rather than just holding a torch and handing a spanner.
Yeah.
I was really, really good at doing that, but actually understanding how to do stuff. And the older I get and the more I break on cars, the more I realise that my dad was just winging it. I thought he knew what he was doing but before YouTube and
Swearing at the Haynes manual like
Yeah.
everyone else.
just give it a go.
Give it a crack. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's taken me a while to understand that was actually probably what he was doing. Necessity meant that he couldn't do other ways, and so he had to give it a crack.
And you think that back then all you had was the greasy Haynes manual. You didn't have YouTube.
Correct.
Now,
No, that's right.
literally any problem you've had on a car now, you just go
Exactly.
bang. There's someone yelling at you about how to do it. And
But don't they make it look easy? They always
They
cut.
do, I know.
They always cut when it's gone really badly, and then they come back clean hands.
Completely
and,
true.
Yeah, look, and I fixed it.
Yeah.
And your dad was okay with you getting a French car? They were mainstream enough that...
Yeah, to be honest, he was just adamant that he wasn't going to buy it for me.
Right.
Not in a horrible way, but I think there's
but
something
that's
really,
great.
really
As
special
like a
about
rite
it.
of passage
Correct.
sort of.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I agree with that.
At the time, I didn't.
No, you tight bastard.
Dad!
Yeah. Friends are driving around in a brand new Polo and Vitaras and so on. But no, I think it was one of those real watershed moments. I still remember the day I passed my driving test and jumped into my car that I paid for that had £7.50 of petrol in.
Yeah.
And,
the world was
those
good.
was
just
the
being well
days.
was
anyway.
good.
Yeah.
So what
amazing.
came after the 205 Lacoste?
So I, after that, I got into my mum's Ford Escort XR3i,
Oh, okay.
white convertible, which was her dream car when
A
my
white
dad,
convertible Escort.
Yeah. So back in the UK, the Escort XR3i was like
Yeah.
a real Essex girl's car.
Yeah.
And so my mum grew up around there and thought that was the bee's
car.
knees. Yeah. Beautiful sound. I remember no power steering, so really, really heavy steering. My sister had it. My mum had it, then my sister had it, then I had it for a little while. And then we sold that, and I got a MX-5. That was my
Ooh, okay.
The first shape.
first shape, an Unos. again,
Unos. So that was an import.
Japanese import.
Yeah, in the UK. Yeah,
Cheaper.
Bit cheaper.
There'll be a recurring theme here, by the way.
Cheap option. Not quite the GTI. Not quite the locally delivered MX-5.
Okay.
Yeah, recurring, definitely. Yeah.
So was that a big thing back then? A lot of cars were coming in as imports from Japan?
Not that I know of. There wasn't a huge, because the UK has as you know, a huge number of brands that don't come over to Australia and or models within brands that don't come over here. So there's a huge choice. In terms of grey imports, I'm not sure if there's a huge amount of them or there wasn't back then. But it was just.
So what sort of years are we talking?
92.
So that car in 92 would have been pretty much new.
Fairly new.
No. This was.
Because they only came out in 89, so that can't have been an old car.
No, sorry, but when I got it, it wasn't a new car.
How old was it when you got it?
So I got it when I was 21, which would have been year 2000. Year 2000.
So it was what, 8, 9, 10 years old?
About 10 years old, I think, from memory.
Yeah. And what were your thoughts on the Unos Roadster?
I thought I had absolutely arrived. Honestly, it was incredible. And for me, I'd always thought that I'd get, at some point in my life, I'd always get an Elise or get an MG or something. Yeah. And this was kind of the affordable version of that for me. It was black. It had...
Dare I say...
reliable.
Better version.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think anything went wrong the whole time I owned it.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
I really wish I hadn't sold it, especially for what I sold it to get into.
Okay.
But that was probably one of my favourite cars, and if I hadn't moved countries, that would probably be one of those on the list that I go, I wish I hadn't sold that one. I wish I still had that.
Yeah. Always get another one.
Yeah, they made millions.
Yeah,
Have you driven mine?
No, I haven't.
You should drive it. Yeah,
You've only got one now?
Yeah, only
still
one.
Got two? Okay.
Yeah. No, I only had two for a shortish time. It was just timing. I'd been searching for one for ages, and there's a good one. And drove it back from Sydney, flew up, drove it home, all of that. 2 weeks later, there's another one presented right in front of me, sort of through work, and I'm like, well. Okay, I'll have that too. And then, so I sold one of them and kept the original Sydney one. And then years later, I bought a third one.
Red again?
Red again. They were all red original MX-5s. Just bizarre.
All first generation pop-up headlights?
NAs.
Yep, all NAs. Yeah. So exactly what you had.
The original and the best.
Yeah, I have to say, I preferred that styling out of all of them. And it was just so compact on the inside. I liked the dials, the round dials for the air conditioning, and it had speakers in the headrests, and that felt like modern.
So what colour was yours?
Black
and black hard top or no hard top?
No hard top, but I replaced the soft top to have one with a glass, with a heater element because it was the UK.
That's a very common thing for the NB. Had the glass heated rear window. So interchangeable. And the hard top's the same. NA and B, same hard top.
Good to know.
Because the cabin bit is the same. So
when I said the NA is the original and the best, I mean they're absolutely iconic. But we were lucky enough to have it go in an ND a couple of weeks ago, and I was just thrilled to think it had the same character as the NA.
Really,
but in a far more refined and modern package.
It was genuine fun
with safety features rather than none.
And that was the 1.5 because they do a 1.5 and a 2 litre in the ND. And that was, through our mate Michael, who helps us do the editing and everything on this lovely podcast. But that car, 100,000 K on it, you jump in. I was so at home straight away, and it went like a rocket. And I was like, this is the 1.5, And apparently, you read the road tests and stuff, and that's kind of the one to have rather than the 2 litre. Which is, you'd think it wouldn't be the case. But
well, again, I had the 1.6, not the 1.9.
Mine's
in the
1.6.
And it was, again, more than enough poke, and it was fun and easy to
balanced.
Spoiler on the back, so it went a little bit faster.
You wanker! Did you mod that car? Like you put the pepper pots on the Lacoste. Did you do anything to the MX-5?
It came with what looked like split rims on it. They weren't split rims, but it looked like they were.
So they're not a factory rim.
No. So it was
someone's put.
And again, alloys just pit and die within 3 or 4 years in the UK because of the salt on the road. So somebody, some time in the 10 years prior, had replaced them, and I think I didn't put the spoiler on, but I would have done it.
Yes, you would.
But it's pre-spoiled.
It was, pre-spoiled. But it looked like it was a real like Mazda part.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Now, what came next, or what caused you to sell this car that you loved so very much?
Well, at the time, I got so much abuse for the car being a hairdresser's car that I was like, no, that's it, got to get another car.
Not a hairdresser.
Yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with being a hairdresser.
The irony is, like that I feel that is said by people who really have no clue, because if you did. It's funny.
I see where you go.
All right, a friend of mine was in mine the other day, and he is a gay man. And he said to me, "This car is very gay." And I said, "You may think that, but if you did a survey of every MX-5 driver around the world, I think you'd find that probably isn't the case." Like he sort of thought it was just, it's a little hairdresser's convertible, is what and he's not really a car guy hugely, but and I was like, I think you'll find that anyone in the know actually goes, no, that's one of the best-selling sports cars of all time.
Indeed.
And, it has a lot of attributes beyond what you might think.
Exactly.
So it's these people giving you abuse, I just think it's unfounded.
They spoiled
Outrageous.
it for me.
Yeah.
So I upgraded from that because I was so fed up with the whole hairdressers, and I got myself a Jeep Wrangler. Because I felt like if you're gonna do it,
if ever
do
there's
it
another
fully.
gay icon car, it's probably a Jeep Wrangler.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. How reliable was that compared to the MX-5?
Again, I was incredibly lucky. So
Was this two-door Wrangler?
It was a two-door Wrangler, and it was
Black,
chrome wheels, chrome bumper.
God.
Got it off eBay, and this is the early days of eBay.
Yeah.
Right? No one had really heard of eBay,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I remember when it was first kind of out. People were saying, "Oh, well, you're gonna turn up, and the car's not going to be there," and so I thought, I'll just take a punt, and and it was great. I had orange peel on both the doors, and I had a person that I used.
Yeah. That's right.
They were all like
standard equipment.
Yeah. So they resprayed those. It was the 2.5, so I had that for about 6 weeks, and it was so underpowered. It was a manual 2.5. It was awful. And
so what? Petrol?
Petrol.
6.
Yeah, straight 6.
It's a small
2.5.
6. Okay.
It was.
I don't think we
so
got that
underpowered.
engine.
It was awful.
I'm not that.
Yeah, not a patch on the old Unos, is it?
No, and it was a real. I remember picking it up on a summer's day, one of the 3 we have in the UK. Took off the roof, which took about 30 minutes, and it was.
Whereas MX-5 is just flip.
And it was all the realization of what I thought it was going to be, really wasn't. Whereas the MX-5 just exceeded all my expectations.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And so I I put that back on eBay, made a profit, and with the profit moved up to the 4-litre automatic Wrangler, another black one.
Right.
And then I had that one for ages. That came with a hardtop, much more livable with the automatic 4-litre.
Yep.
Had
Loved
that.
yourself sick.
Yeah, I did. I had that in fact until I started at BM in the UK.
Yeah.
And then you got a company car and sold it because I got company cars.
Yeah. What was your first company car? What model are we talking?
So it was an E46 coupe diesel.
Oh, nice
okay.
car.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I like
remember
E46.
you ordered a couple of those in, didn't you, when you were at BMW?
No, we never got them in diesels.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So E46 for us was like with the first BMW diesel that had ever come into Australia was the X5, the original E53. And 3 Series diesels didn't come in till 06. I know because I ordered one for my father, which was an E90.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So E46s for us here were never diesel. But that with a diesel was
amazing.
Great car.
Yeah, and as a new grad going into a big business like BMW,
Thought you were
it was
pretty
amazing.
king shit, didn't you?
And the coupe as well.
It
felt.
What colour?
It was silver, gunmetal grey.
Titan silver, mate.
It was Titan silver. Yeah.
354 code 354.
Titan
It
silver.
comes back to me in little fits and spurts, these codes. And then you would have been in Beamers the rest of your time in the UK.
Yeah, I was. And then coming over to Australia with BMW meant that I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But I came over with motorcycles. So my first automobile in Australia was a motorbike.
Yep.
So I just got a BMW motorbike to get around. And
yeah.
again, as an Englishman coming over to live in St Kilda, and it was incredible. It was
suddenly you can use a motorbike in a way
right.
you can't use it in the UK.
Yeah, but in Melbourne, you kind of go out in wet weather gear and then you come home sweltering because it's got hot, or
It's
vice
just, the
versa.
weather's
It's
changed
just
so quickly.
yeah.
Yes.
But it was. I take that back. It was unbelievable. It
Yeah.
really was.
And you're still here, so you
And I'm
must
still here.
You must have liked
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Married and 2 kids, and this is home.
Now let's fast forward a little bit through some cars. So you had Beamer. What was your last company Beamer? What year would that have
My
been?
wife also started working there, so we kind of pooled up our points.
Yeah.
And I think we
Upgraded ourselves.
I think we had an X3 for the last sort of 5 or 6 rotations.
Cars, yeah.
They were brilliant. So probably the last one I had was the 3-litre diesel X3, which was a rocket ship.
Yep.
Just an amazing car.
It was a great all-rounder, that car.
It was big enough. It was fast enough. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Really,
I
really
really
good.
rated those, and they were quite understated. I think I've said this to you before. You know, you can park them anywhere. They're a great size. They're almost an X5 in terms of interior usability. The 3-litre diesel from the X5 in a smaller, lighter car. There's just
it's a no-brainer, really.
The X-Drive system works so well. They feel like a car. You take them to the snow. I did that a few years in a row, and just a really good pack. Get one with the M Sport in the right colour, and you know, people don't kind of look at you and go, ooh, but you're like, this thing's a rocket, does everything, and I'm getting 8 litres per 100.
Yeah.
Not bad. Anyway,
amazing.
so we're out of Beamers. Now there's a couple of interesting cars coming. I remember one of them, and you were justifying it to me at the time. We might not be quite there yet.
I got another Wrangler. So when I left BM,
I don't remember that
I
one.
got a silver Wrangler.
Reliving your
Reliving my
past.
youth.
Did it live up to your memories of Wrangler?
This one was better because it was I'm going to use the wrong codes, but I think it was a JK, whereas I had TJs in the UK.
Yep.
And there was quite a big difference between those.
Yep.
That felt more modern. Hardtop again. It was a lot more usable.
Better.
Yeah, it was a lot better.
I seem to remember somewhere in there was there a Compass?
Yeah, well, that was
okay.
when we first had kids. That was we got to get rid of the Wrangler, so we got a Jeep Compass because it was cheap.
Yeah, I remember at the time Ollie just on the phone to me saying, "No, Eddie, no, look, really, it's a really good deal."
It was
and I'm like, I'm just trying to hang up.
But it lit up like a Christmas tree by the end of it.
But you had that for years.
We did.
You drove that
into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Like I think a lot of families do that with the car that they have when they first have kids.
Destroyed.
Money goes in other directions, and the car is just a
whatever
means of getting
exactly
to one to the other.
Now, where did we go from there? When did you get back into a little bit of classic motoring?
So I told you the story of my sister being driven from the hospital and then getting married in my dad's car. Well, I wanted to do the same thing for my daughter when she was born. So I bought the kind of rolling chassis of a replica 356 when my daughter was born. So, and I've built that up over the last sort of 10 years.
And I remember when you bought that, and it was like, wow, okay, a replica 356 Speedster, isn't it?
Yes.
Really. And I remember thinking, God, that's actually a really exotic car for the money. Like it still does. It looks money. I mean, now it is actually money because they're worth quite a bit now.
Money now.
But because the new ones have gone so insane, the real ones have gone so insane that it drags even replicas skyward.
It's crazy.
But that car, I remember when you got it, it's still black.
Yep.
And then you've done some stuff to it though, quite a bit of stuff to it.
So over the last decade, probably the only thing that's left is the actual the original chassis, or I say the original fake chassis, and the body shell.
So what brand replica is it?
So it's Auto Styling Australia. So it was a guy called Andrew over in Perth in the early 90s. He built about 200, 300 of them.
Wow, okay.
And 200 of them were the standard shape, and then about 100 of them were the wide body, which is the one that I've got. Yeah.
The fat one.
The fat boy. Yeah.
So you've done motor rebuild. I know you've had bits imported, and which is not that hard to do because it's all Volkswagen. You know,
that's right. That's the beauty of the 356.
That's the beauty of the 356.
And people, I call it the Porsche-ish because it's kind of a Porsche, but not
Porsche badges on it.
Yeah.
And you've been to Porsche drive days.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm going on a big drive with all the Porsche to Luftwasser in a couple of weeks, which I'll take my wife to.
Do the Porsche people welcome you as one of their own, or do they shun you?
Depends which Porsche people you're talking about.
Yeah.
Have you had any negative sort of comments about your Porsche?
Yeah. When a friend of mine had just bought a G Series 911, brand new to him.
Yeah.
He was thrilled. I had mine, and he goes, I've joined up with the Type 901 club. We're going for a drive. I was like, oh, brilliant, I'll
go.
So
I'll come along.
7 o'clock in the morning, meet at a McDonald's car park, and I just we arrived and they're all parked up. They're all 901s.
Yeah,
they're
just
all
in it, boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
So I go, I'm not going to park in that line because I'll spoil it. I'll park over here. Anyway, we go into the McDonald's and people are just getting like whatever their drink of choice and whatever. And the president walks in and he goes, who bought the Beetle? Can I just start? Who bloody brought the Beetle?
Oh, and that's the president.
I just wanted the floor to. Wow. I had a whole day ahead of me with these people, and they were just a different breed.
Wow.
So he didn't want you there?
No, well, he just wanted to make a statement that he was driving around in a 200 grand 901, and who the hell are you to bring your 18 grand Beetle in a ball gown?
Party dress.
Yeah, exactly.
David described once. A friend of ours has a car podcast. And David described once something came about Mustangs, and David said, "I don't really rate the Mustang. I
don't think I said it like
to me.
That,
it's a falcon
in a ball dress.
A falcon in a party dress was his comment.
I
was like, wow, harsh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I bet you'll make a lot of friends around these parts of days.
But as a committee member of a car club of long standing, that's a really harsh thing to say to a potential new member or welcoming
How
someone.
do they know that you don't have a 901 at home under restoration? How do they know?
Probably by looking at me. But it was a real wake up that I have a love of cars that goes back years and years and years, and I knew I was always going to try and find something that was special to me, knowing that actually British sports cars over here are not that, they're pretty thin on the ground. I think in the time I've been here, I've seen maybe 3 or 4 Triumphs in the time. I tell like lots of Stags, not many TR4s, TR3s, and so on.
They're certainly out there, but it's nice not to just follow in your dad's footsteps and copy. It's nice to do your own thing, and that car's very you. I mean, you've done work to the dash cluster, I remember recently, and redone all the gauges and made them look a lot more premium. I think I remember debating with you about the interior, because it was black with red, and I was like, no, I love the black with red, keep the black with red, and you were like, no, I want to go this tanny sort of colour. And I remember saying to you after it was done, I was like, you're actually right. It does. It looks really nice now.
It does look fantastic.
You've seen the car. That's right. You saw it. So it's become very you. You put a lot of your soul into that car.
And I think that because it's been such a long time, I've had the opportunity to kind of put my own little touches on, which, because it was a cheap car to buy, relatively speaking, when I was redoing the dash myself and redoing the I almost said carbon fibre there, sorry, the glass fibre, and then having to drill into the dash, if it was 100 and 200,
that's right,
you just wouldn't do it.
No,
whereas
that's
this,
right.
I was like, well, I'll give it a crack and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
And because it's because it is a replica, you can do that customization yourself, absolutely, and make it more of what you want it to be.
And you drive it, you enjoy it. You're not too. It's like having a car that's got a bit of patina. You're not too precious about it.
Yeah.
In a way that, we went on my birthday drive on a dirt road.
Yeah, we did in the rain.
In the rain, yeah. And you happily came along.
No, I came along.
Now, there's another car that I saw in your garage, and this is a more recent acquisition.
It is,
we had a little tinker with it, a little discussion about it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's the new project. So I got a 1978 Series 3 Land Rover in Camino Gold.
Lovely colour.
Yeah, and I couldn't stretch to the Range Rover to live kind of through my dad's experience, but the Series 3, for me, kind of the 2A would have been too agricultural to try and go back to. I think I say I think.
It's not that far removed from a Series 3. They're pretty similar.
But I think having synchro on second and third and fourth, not just
third and fourth.
I think there are little bits that will make it more livable. I say I think because it's still off the road. So I'll let you know when I get it on.
You live in hope.
You live in hope.
That's right.
So that car's you've done a lot of cleaning and tinkering and radiator, and I know you've done gaskets and things on it. And
all the basic stuff that a numpty like me can do, I've done.
Yep.
And now a specialist needs to get in and actually do the real stuff.
It'll be very cool though, on club plates and chuck stuff in the back and go down the beach. And,
totally.
It's that kind of car.
Yeah, and I want to go camping with my little son in the back of it and not too far so it doesn't.
Now, there's a couple of problems with this. What happens if son doesn't want to go camping, and what happens if daughter never gets married and can use
I'll just have two
Porsche.
Great cars to retire with.
I hope they live up to these expectations.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, that probably brings us up to date, doesn't it?
It does. I think that's the car history.
Thank you very much, Olly Bridge, for coming and sharing your car story with us, and we look forward to many more installments.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good night.